Hey crafty friends, Happy New Year. I took some time off of videos for Christmas and now I am ready to jump back in and start creating again. I have made a new 6-page scrapbooking workshop guide and I am ready to share those pages with you today. They are bright, fun spring colors, and the best part is you can get this paper for free. So let's go on over to the table and I'll show you what I've been up to. I don't know about you guys, but now that Christmas is over, I'm ready for spring. Let's just scooch past all of the winter blues and darkness and all of that and just go straight to spring. Since I can't do that in real life, I'm definitely doing that in my crafting. January, I seem to always bring out the bright colors because I'm missing them. So this is the first 2 pages of my 6-page workshop. I'm going to bring this up here so you can see we got some paper tearing, lots of opportunities for large photos. I do have a 3x3 on here, but the rest are 4x6 or 4x4. We have a stamp title. This is a new stamp set. I cannot wait to show you. And I had to bring in some little butterflies and some fun new embellishments. So there is a ton of new product in here, as well as some older dies that you've seen me use before, because these are some of my favorite greenery dies, and I'm going to share all of that with you. Now, of course, I'm bringing in some sparkle from some Glimmer paper. These butterflies are just gorgeous. This is also a new bundle that is available. So I got some little clusters going on this page, and the whole theme of this workshop is could go for any sort of occasion. It could just be everyday life. It could be special occasions. It could be whatever you need it to be. And of course, you can always swap out the titles. So first, let's talk about the paper. This is called Bloom Impressions, and this is a free pack of paper. And you're like, what? How do I get this for free? Well, it is Sale-a-bration starting January 7th, which means that you can choose free items once you hit $75. So for every $75 you spend, that's Canadian. If you're in Canada, it's different depending what country you are in. You can see I chopped up this paper real good. I don't even have full sheets left to show you. Here's this one. Oh, I love even these back sides with these watercolor prints. But when you hit $75, then you get to choose a free item. And if you continue shopping for every $75, then you can pick more free items. So this paper is one of those. You can get it for free with the $75 order. Look at this. I love that kind of watercolor fade on these pinks on here. Super pretty. Definitely a watercolor feel and also heavy on the florals. But I think the sort of like watercolor distressing in the background really is beautiful and adds a nice little softness to this pack. Even on the floral patterns themselves, there's like white flowers layered over top of those bold colors, which I think helps to soften the busy print. Now let's talk about the beautiful butterflies bundle. This is where I got all the butterflies from. Of course, we have some nice sentiments. We have stamps, and we also have dies. We have one that's actually like a card front. So you can cut the front of a card to be shaped like a butterfly. You have an outline of a butterfly that cuts the stamped image. And then you also have the detailed die cut. Now, something that I think is super cool is the bodies are separate from the wings. So you could do them different colors. You can do them out of different materials. Really gives you a lot of flexibility, and that's not usually something I see a lot in butterfly sets. Usually it's the body cuts out as one piece with the wings. So I love this option to switch things up. And of course, we have some nice little basic labels that you can add sentiments to. If you guys know me, you know I love butterflies. I love purple, so this was a must for me. Now there is also a coordinating embossing folder. Just one second, I will grab that for you. Now this is a hybrid embossing folder, which means there is a die that cuts out that large butterfly so that you can emboss it and die cut it at the same time, all in one pass, or you can choose to have it separate and just emboss. Very cool. I love having the flexibility of that. This makes a great set that you can use for all sorts of things. but especially as we start like coming into spring and thinking about spring outdoor scrapbooking, this one I just had to have. Now you may have noticed some of these embellishments. They're a little bit hard to see on camera. There's some little like frosted domes. There's some flat reflective discs. There's also some sequins in here. This is the Itty Bitty Bokeh mix. And isn't that gorgeous? Hopefully it will. There we go. We can focus on there. So just a gorgeous mix. It's a loose mix, so you can make shakers with it. Or what I like to do is just stick down my pieces individually. So I use the pick tool from Stampin' Up. It has the sticky stuff on the end. Whatever kind of tool you have that does that for you, picks all these pieces up, so you can just add a little bit of glue and stick your gems right down into the glue. Definitely comes in handy for such small pieces. Now this little border here at the bottom, this one is done with dies. You could also substitute this with like a border punch if you want to. This is Unbounded Love dies. This is one I've had for a while. It's in the annual catalog, but I used this die right here, and I actually cut them in half so I could just layer them over each other and create that nice border at the bottom. So whether you have border punches or not, have a look at some of your dies and see if maybe you can use them in a different way to create a border. All right, let's have a look at the next 2 pages. All right, you know me, I like to bring in some techniques. So on this one, we did a little bit of a treatment to the background, and I will bring it up so hopefully you can see it a little bit better. We have some text stamping, some ink blending in the background, some more glitter paper or glimmer paper, and you can see all that little bouquet mix that's scattered all around there. I've kind of done it around each of my embellishment clusters. We have more of the paper. I did some ripping on the edges. I thought that was a nice way to soften this paper, was just to rip the edges. And of course we have this stamp set again. So I want to show you what that looks like. This is the Documenting the Day set. This is new, and it is also a Sale-a-bration set, which means it's another one of the things that you can choose for free with a $75 order. So we have the big day set, and then we have a bunch of different sentiments that can go along with it. This is a perfect titling set. See, documenting the day. This could be anything. Like I could put all sorts of photos on here, everyday life, special events. Really doesn't matter because everything is generic enough that it will work. But we have day in the sun, a perfect day, one fine day, oh what a day, documenting the day, what a wonderful day. So this, if you are a scrapbooker, I think is a must-have because I can see using this all year round. And of course, the text is from a new set as well. Any kind of texture stamps, text splatter, I am always a big fan of those, and those are sets that never leave my collection. I use them over and over again after they're retired, doesn't matter. I have so many of those sets that I love. I don't have any that are quite like this. I love this script font. So this is the stamp that I used here, and I'm going to show you and give you some tips on how to do this and add it to your page. The nice thing is we are going to do this before attaching all the pieces, so in case you kind of mess it up or you're not happy with how it looks, you can grab a fresh piece of white cardstock and just start over. Sometimes it takes some practice to get it exactly how you want it. What better way to do that than practice on a page where nothing is stuck down yet? This element of text set is part of the new online exclusive release coming out on January 7th, so you'll want to make sure you check that out as well. Okay, I'm going to slide these over out of the way while I show you how I did this. Okay, we'll just come in a little bit closer so you can see. So I'm not going to cut down this paper because I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for yet, and I want to leave it as one piece. But you can imagine that this is sitting here. Your little pieces are just sitting there like that. I like to pick lighter colors for the blending on the background, but another really nice option, if you're not a huge fan of the pink, or maybe you want like minimal pink, especially if you are using like outdoor photos or something, you could easily put a light blue in the background. Even if there's no blue anywhere else, if you're putting outdoor photos, there's probably going to be blue from your sky or water or whatever, and I think that would work really nicely as a blended background too. So I used a Flirty Flamingo ink, and I'm using a little blending brush. Size of brush is really up to you. of what you prefer. But what I like to do is put my little piece in, put my paper on. You can mark the edges with a pencil if you want to, but make sure those pencil marks are going to be hidden by your paper, because once you ink over them, they're there. They're permanent. They are not coming off. So what I did is figure out where my paper's going. Then I just kind of peel the edge back, and I make sure that I start my blending brush under where the paper's going to cover. I don't want to start it out here because I might get some circles of where my brush first goes down, because wherever your brush touches first is going to be the darkest, and lots of times you will get kind of an unblended mark. And so I like to start it where it's hidden and then pull it out, and then I can lay my paper down and be like, okay, that's how far I came out. Sometimes if you're working on a solid piece of white, it's really hard to visualize where everything is going to be. And you can pull it right out to the edges if you want. You can stop before you get to the edge. But I would say kind of stop and look at it, because at first it might look like, oh, I don't have very much ink on there, but there is quite a nice little pink halo that comes up right about here. Might be hard to see on camera, but just go slowly. You can see how where I'm first putting my brush down, I'm getting quite a dark mark, but that really doesn't matter because it's going to be hidden by my paper. So I would go ahead, do like on this page, I have 3 different areas. I kind of did this section, a little bit down here, and then along this side, because I knew where my embellishment clusters were going. Now for the next part, you're going to want a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to just try and tuck it off to the side here. Maybe I'll move this over a little bit so you can see better. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to use the exact same color I was just using. I'm going to stamp off on here. And if you're not sure how it's going to turn out, I would stamp off even a second time so that you can start really lightly. And then I'm just going to pull this. And you can see that is quite light, which is no problem. So now I know I kind of want second generation. So stamp off once, move it over and stamp again. So I'm getting kind of like a collage effect. I have it kind of overlapping. There's darker, there's lighter. That's just my preference because I don't want it to look too perfect. Okay, and then you can just repeat that, put it at different heights. See how I kind of have, it's kind of going off, kind of fades off to nothing. I would keep the darker ink, so like when I first stamp it down, keep that to the area where the ink is the darkest, and then as you go outwards, like farther away, then stamp it off lighter. So that's pretty much all there is to it. I think it's nice to have your paper not attached yet because then you're not trying to mask anything off. It's super easy. And if you jack it up, it's okay because nothing is stuck down and you just grab a new piece of white and start over. And this is a pretty easy way to create some interest on your pages. For the title on this page, I did stamp off the word day. So I inked it up with Melon Mambo ink. I stamped it off, and then I stamped the documenting the in like full strength, inked it up and stamped it. So then I get some color variation, but they're still very much coordinating. You could also choose different colors. Peach Pie is another one. This is Peach Pie Glimmer paper. You could stamp the word day in the Peach Pie and then use the Melon Mambo for the title, or the Flirty Flamingo that I was just using for the blending. I did use some journaling lines from my stash, and I did like second generation. So I stamped off with the Peach Pie and then stamped onto my page. You don't have to add journaling lines. I just wanted to make sure it was visible of where I intended to add the journaling. I don't have photos yet for this page, so of course I don't have journaling to add yet either. None of the techniques that I'm using in this workshop are super complicated, so it would be a great one to do with beginners if you are teaching. It would also be a great one to just get a bunch of pages done. You don't have to do super complex things. Some of these little things can add onto your pages and just take them to the next level without a ton of extra work. So this is the third layout and probably my favorite because of all the purple. I love purple, I love butterflies, and I decided to do some like encrusted looking butterflies. So I have added a ton of gems. I'm going to show you how I did that. Super easy and was very quick actually to do. So I am going to show you that. You can see I have lots of greenery on this page. I used my favorite set. I love this set. I've used it quite a few times, and it was one of the first ones that I bought when I joined Stampin' Up. And I did use the die set. I love the standalone dies that are in here. These ones don't coordinate with stamps, but these ones do. And actually, I used one of the sentiments from here, the "Every thought of you makes me smile," on the second layout, because I had it out on my desk and I was like, oh, that goes perfect for cards or for layouts. And I love when sentiments can kind of do double duty like that. So I've included quite a bit of greenery on this page, as well as some little banner shapes. And if you can see, they have really nice little stitching detail on them, which is a great way to finish off. Of course, you can always dovetail paper just with your scissors, but this is the Nested Essentials set. I used this large shape for the first layout to put my title on, and then I used these banner shapes on this page. I have room for journaling here, and actually I could also put some lines of journaling here. I was going to maybe stamp a sentiment or something there, some more words, but I want to wait until I see what photos are going here, and if I have a big story, lots to say, I can start it here and finish it over here. If you've never used any of my workshop guides, they do come with the cutting diagrams, so it's super easy to cut your paper, as well as photos and directions for putting the pages together. You can get them 3 different ways. If you are outside of Canada, you can purchase them from my website. I will have it linked down in the description box below. And then if you are within Canada, you can make a purchase of $80 or more from my Stampin' Up website and you will get it for free. Or if you join my team, you will get the guide for free every month. I partner up with my friend Julie Carrier and we take turns designing guides. So our teams get a free guide every month that they can use to do classes or just for their own scrapbooking as well. So you can see on this page, I have ripped all along here. I thought it was just a nice way to break up the papers and not adding a lot of extra detail, but just a little bit of subtle detail. And then I have some more stamping in the background. This is more images from the Elements of Text set. So this is this stamp here that has like some splatter and some print on it. And then I also used one of the splatter stamps. And I did the same thing where I placed my paper. This is about 4.5 to 4 3/4 inches up from the bottom. And then I just went ahead with like 2nd and 3rd generation. So stamping off on the scrap paper with the flamingo color. And then I stamped off with the Melon Mambo color on the splatters as well, because it's always better to start a little bit light. You can see here I have very light splatter, and then this is a little bit darker. But if I stamp that in full strength, it would really draw your eye. And that's not the purpose of this. This is just to add a little extra texture, a little bit of interest. It kind of makes them look a little bit more mixed media feel to it without really being mixed media. There was not a big mess created in the stamping of these pages, and I love stamps for that. Now I want to show you how I did this title because it's kind of a fun detail. You see all that texture on the stamp? Well, this day stamp is a very bold, solid stamp. So there's several different fun techniques you can do. I am going to use the back side of my Versamat because it's a little bit squishy and it does help with transferring ink on these really solid stamps. So one thing I will say about this stamp is be careful when you are taking it off the carrier sheet and when you're putting it onto your block and off your block. The words are only held together by these little like strings. So if there's, if you're kind of stuck and you're peeling too hard, it will rip there, which isn't a big deal. You can definitely line it up, but just be careful with that. Kind of thin areas like that on stamps do tend to rip. I'm using Petunia Pop here, and I am going to just ink this up first and see how it's stamping. I always like to do that with solid stamps, just see if there's anything on here that is getting in the way. Make sure there's no dust or anything. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, then you're gonna wanna grab an inking tool or a dauber, something with foam. You could probably even use like a makeup sponge or something. And what I'm going to do is just grab ink on here. And my stamp is wiped off. So there is no ink on my stamp. It's stained, but it does not have ink on it. And so what I'm gonna do is just pounce my ink in there, and then I'm going to drag it across. Now, actually what I would do is start on the Y, probably the best way to do it, because then if you touch the next letter, it doesn't really matter because you haven't inked it yet. So I'm dragging in one direction, being conscious of I want the streaks to all go the same way, and then you would stamp it. Now I would recommend stamping it off first on scrap paper so that you can kind of get a feel for how much ink are you transferring. You can see this one, just a hair light. I would like a little bit more ink on there. All right, let's give this another go. I'm going to start on the Y, and same thing, dragging in one direction. And if you kind of stop halfway through your letter, go over that letter again, because that will show. Whatever marks you're making will show on your final stamping. There, that's much better. So there you can see, you kind of have to play with it, see how much ink you're getting on there. You can always stamp directly into your stamp pad if you find that you're not getting enough ink coverage on your practice run. You can stamp it on there, then just take your tool and kind of spread the ink. And that way, this is going to be a little bit darker because I have way more ink on here. But I want to make sure I only have like a single set of lines and my lines aren't kind of stopping halfway through my letter. So I need to go back over that. All right. Now I'll stamp that right above. So there you can see it is quite a bit darker, but you still have that texture on there, which is really fun. And then I just used the Blackberry Bliss color, which is like my favorite Stampin' Up color. I love this color. It's a very dark purple. And to me, it's kind of like a neutral. It's almost like a black, but it's a little bit softer than a black because it's purple. So then I just stamped that over top. Okay, let's go on and I will show you how I did my little encrusted butterflies. All right, I've grabbed another piece of printer paper. Definitely using a little bit of printer paper in this project. I have gone ahead and cut my butterfly from some of the pattern paper. You can cut from cardstock or from pattern paper. They both work for this technique. And I'm just going to add a little bit of glue where I want the body to go. So glue that body on first. I do really like this feature. Like I said, it's kind of rare for a butterfly set to have that flexibility. I don't think any of my other sets have that. Usually the body is attached. So if you want to do different colors, different materials, maybe you want to have the body in glitter paper and the wings in a different kind of paper or vice versa. I just really love that flexibility. All right, and then what we're going to do, I didn't bother doing the antenna because they are pretty fine detail. I mostly stuck to the middle part and a little bit here at the base of the wings. If you want, you could add some dots out on the wings, which I did for the bigger butterflies, but you can see nice coating of that glue. And then I'm using that Itty Bitty Bokeh mix, and we're just gonna dump it right on there. Just dump it over there, tap it down. And what I would do is do all your butterflies at one time, and then they can all be drying. Now there will be some that are kind of partially stuck but not fully stuck. You can kind of rearrange a little bit. You can knock things off while your glue is wet. Now is the time to adjust and make sure all the areas you want covered are covered. But isn't that beautiful? I just think it turns out so good. And then just set it aside to dry. In case there's some glue on the back of the butterfly body, you probably want to set it on like a non-stick surface. And then I'll just use that like a funnel and put the rest back into the container. And then when they're dry, I just go ahead and stick them on the page. I did also add some extra pieces around. I used my pick tool again to just add them onto little dots of glue. And it's such a beautiful mix. I really enjoyed that. So if you are watching this video in real time, remember all these new products that I was showing you today, they launch in just a couple days on January 7th. And if you want to grab the workshop guide, it is linked down below for you. or you can wait and place an order if you're in Canada and get it for free. If you want to check out more of my workshops, you can check out this playlist here, and I'll see you again very soon with another video. Bye.